Hello chess chicas and the chess chicos. Today we are going to Endgame. Endgame is a part of our chess learning that is one of the trickiest to really relate to, because very often our chess games don't even go to an endgame phase. It is a tricky concept to learn. There is a lot to do about endgames that is a bit of a vague area, I suppose, and a lot of people feel very reluctant to touch it. So in this video, and maybe I'm going to turn it into a series, I'm going to present to you ideas, ways how you can approach endgames, and just basically, more than anything else, really what I want to achieve is to make you like endgames. So I think that as soon as you have a positive affection towards endgames, you're going to eventually get good at it, simply because if people like things, they usually like to engage and get better at it. It's particularly interesting to my mind that kids usually, and youngsters who are keen on chess, they have a bit of a reluctance for endgames. They like flashy middle game combinations and attacks and the likes, and very often you find that kids are reluctant to engage with endgames. And usually a turning point is when they actually face an endgame that is really nice, complex, and they spend some time exploring the depth of it, and then it turns around, and then they usually come around as well. Anyway, long story short, what I have done for today for you and for myself as well was that I randomly selected 3 endgames, 2 from a book, 1 from my own, and this is exactly what I recommend you to do. Grab an endgame, set it up, check in the book who to move, and that's it. Set it up and let yourself indulge in the position. Now, the first one I have got for you is a very easy one, and we are going to gradually go more and more complex today, as very often. I'm going to get a sneaky drink, by the way. We'll talk about this in a bit. Check out the handsome guy. Oh, yeah, baby. Just a cheeky drink. Just a cheeky drink. Black to move. Clearly, we are fighting for a draw. We have got 2 checks. One of them is a cluster disaster. The other one is an easy draw. Pause the video if you want. Go ahead and let's check out what's happening here after you pause the video. So, the easy draw is the check from the side. Generally speaking, but I don't want to turn it into a principal video. The larger the distance between rook and king when you are checking in a rook ending, the more likely that you are doing the right thing. So this check is already having a principled downside to it, but it looks extremely logical because it seems like it's netting a pawn. Now this is met by a beautiful counterpunch that decided this game, and that is of course the fabulous Rook F6. When after pawn takes F6, pawn check, king H6 and G7, we have got this very curious case when the rook can't actually stop the pawn at all. Now there are 64 squares on a chessboard, out of which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are occupied by other pieces. So that takes us down to 59. Out of the 59 squares, there are literally 2 on the board where the black rook is unable to stop the pawn, and that's this and this. If you place the rook literally anywhere else on the board, it is going to be able to make a move that stops the pawn. That's bonkers. Like, you really have to have rotten luck for that. But then again, we are crafting our own luck and fortune, and that was the move that created this mess. For the record, after Rook F6, Rook A5, swing back, trying to rectify the situation. Unfortunately, not doable anymore. Here comes the second beautiful punch. Check, takes, check, and this is even a checkmate. Now, the draw is pretty easy. Once we establish that this is the check we need to go for. Obviously the king doesn't really have anywhere to go because we just keep on checking until the cows come home. So Rook E7 is the move to play, and then we slide back to the 5th rank, both to stop the F5 push and to create our own threat. Now again, if the king goes in a walk, we can also do the same, and now again start checking like a madman is a pretty easy draw. Potentially rook check is also easily drawing, but I would be reluctant to force his king back to a meaningful hiding spot. Cheers. So that was one. Then I set up another one, which is a very juicy endgame actually, and here it's really, really good to analyze and try to figure out what's going on very early on, because this is a very unique story. White to move, we have got two very logical moves. One, to approach our own pawns and try to make something happen there. Or two, come back, clean up this guy, and then win easily. Again, as very often in life, one of them is awesome. The other one is fundamentally flawed. The game continuation was actually king c3, and here black has got a fabulous draw. If you want to figure it out, pause the video, please. So the drawing mechanism is this awesome bishop f7 move, which forces white to push. Upon taking, takes, the pawn falls, and so does our winning hopes. So do our winning hopes, rather. So g7 check, king here, and now the threat is to eat the pawns. So here, 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 and I will eat both of the pawns. If check, then I can do a little detour and go there, excuse me, and still eat the pawns. And the nicest variation, which I didn't even figure out on the first attempt of recording this video, which I had to unfortunately delete because I was accidentally playing music in the background. But that's just a little side story for what a joy it is to be a YouTuber. So bishop c2, this has caused me a little bit of a headache because it was not mentioned in the book, and it's a very logical move, right? So it denies the king's exit, so to speak, from behind the pawns, and if we chuck away the pawn in order to get out, then my king is actually within range to the pawn, and white is winning easily. So I went like, so what's the story here? And it turns out that actually we need to play a5. Very cool stuff. And when the king takes is when we play a move like this. I think. Yes. Or g6. We need to make a bishop move. That much is certain, to allow the king to eat the pawn. And if the bishop goes all the way in, then pushy, 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 pushy. And now we just hold. Now, I didn't see this line in the previous attempt even. So give me just one sec. So there, no. There. So if I go here, here. Yeah, I have to push the pawn. That's the only draw. So this is still a little bit messy, actually. It's still a little bit messy. So let's play this out, actually. And this is what I would recommend you to do. As soon as you just hit the tiniest fog, where you are not quite sure what's going on, analyze it. So in my head now, I am setting up this position where I go whatever, and now I'm like, how is it to draw? Because my plan now is to bring the bishop back, for argument's sake. Actually, let's do this, because this is a very human idea. Come here, trade the bishop. See, I wouldn't want to be. Now, I already see that this is not going to work. Oh, actually. So now a2 is forced. Because if I play pass, then after bishop b3, a2 doesn't work because we win. So this is actually a win. So I have to play a2. And so now what we are saying is that white cannot escape from the corner with the king. And there's just no way to hunt down the pawn. Because I just physically cannot attack this pawn with the bishop. Ha! That's insane, man. That's pretty cool. I did not see it even on first attempt, even on second attempt when I was recording the first video. Wow. So this is so awesome, because this is how you explore ideas and depth in endgames. There's nothing mentioned about this in the book where I got it from. And so this is exactly what I recommend you to do. Branch off. Play out other lines that are not in the books, that are not clear to you. It genuinely wasn't clear to me why this was not a rock-solid winning attempt for white. And in fact, it is a rock-solid winning attempt, and it just fails to win due to the pawn arriving here on time. Awesome. Now, the win is no less impressive. King e5. I'm trying to remember how the game went. Obviously now bishop f7 no longer works because I can just take and I retain the pawn. I think the game went something like a5, king here, bishop here, king here. I think another bishop pass, king here. And this is when we realize the genius winning plan. It doesn't matter what black does, whether it's king here or bishop pass. The game went actually king here, pawn up. No, bishop h5 first. No, it doesn't matter. Pawn up. They played pass. Bishop here. Absolute genius. Top draw genius move. Does bishop c2 win too? Less clear because of king f7. And now I'm threatening to take this. So that's why bishop h5 is a better one. I didn't know that one either. So I'm exploring now a lot beyond what's written in the book. So bishop h5, and the idea is that now we let this one run. Matter of fact, we even let this one run. Only to do the most epic mate ever, bro. Ho ho. Wowzers. And as soon as the bishop drops on h5, we can't stop this. As in, by we, I mean black. Ooh, sorry, I forgot to tell you to pause the video. Go back and pause and figure it out. Yeah. How awesome, man. This is... And chicas. How awesome is that? King e5. Main line. So let's promote this. And up. Bishop here. Bishop here. Check and mate. This is why sometimes I tell my students and they absolutely go postal on me and hate me like mad. But very often I tell my students that endgames occasionally appear to be very easy. In fact, I do not use the word appear, I just say easy. Because once you hit upon a plan, you just execute it, and there is usually very little that your opponents can do to actually somehow interfere with that idea. In an endgame, it's a lot cleaner. In middle game scenarios, there's so much going on, counter punches, defensive ideas. But like, look at this. I want to have this king here. Good luck stopping that, right? So that's already a 4-move plan that you can just put forward. Very important, though, not to have this mentality at all in middle games, because there it has to be calculated to death. And every single move needs to be met with a line. Whereas here it's reasonably safe to say that black has nothing productive to do in the interim whilst I'm running my king down to... or king f5, doesn't matter, to h6, because the pawn gets here, I take it. And then next stage, up, blah, 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 and we have got the checkmate. Now that cannot possibly be pictured without awesome tactical vision. And now I'm going to move on to practical examples. This is a game of my own. We're joining my game here, which has already been botched by me, which is something I do on a world-class level. And in this position, I decided to play c7. My opponent took on e3. I played king h1. And at this point, I had a winning idea. The winning idea was queen b8. And then take. And then check. And then queen. And I was very impressed with that. I'm not gonna lie to you. Considering it was a blitz game and I had 40 seconds here to come up with queen b8, take rook d8, and then c8 queen, which is gonna cover c1 by the way. I was impressed with myself. But nonetheless, I had a feeling at the bottom of my heart that this shouldn't be winnable because of the relative weakness of my king. The game continued queen c5. I went in queen b8. He played h4. I took, as per planned. Everything is played out to plan. Now if queen takes rook d8 wins the full queen. So he has to take, check, c8 queen, and now I knew that I was actually gonna win. Because there is no check on c1, and that's it. Ta-da! Thank you very much. And then after the game I decided to go back to this because I wanted to learn from it, which is an approach I really recommend you to take too. Excuse me. in terms of blitz games, or if there's a position where you go like, yeah, something had to be there. And I went back to here, and it turns out that actually queen c3 is the only move. Not very deep, but my 25-40 opponent didn't see it, I didn't see it, and it would take me a fair time to actually come up with this. Because it's a subtle idea. In the game, queen c5 happened. And the only difference, in a sense, is that the queen from here hits 3 back rank squares, the more important one being e1. And after queen b8, still only one move holds the draw, pawn h4. Beautiful stuff. And now when I execute the same plan that I did in the game with the idea of covering the c1 check, unfortunately for me, this check holds the draw. Very cool. And then, to top it all, and I haven't analyzed it at all, so it might turn into an absolute cluster disaster, because I'm seeing it for the first time now, the computer tells me that this move by me was actually a horrific blunder, and instead king f1 was winning. And the more I look at it, the more baffled I am. I suppose, can't possibly figure out any other reason, the engine's idea, and right now I do not have the engine on, is that after queen f4, and that's exactly, by the way, what you should do. If the engine tells you that was dumb, do this, don't ever look up why do that. Play out the move, try to figure it out. My guess is that the engine wants me to play king e2 here. And amazingly, there are no checks. Now that I call sheer insanity if this is true. And I suppose if queen here, I get queen, takes, and I'm just going to walk. I'm gonna leg it, mate. Am I though? Yes, I am. I'm gonna leg it. Legit leg it. Yeah, now I'm going to walk away. No worries. If check here, king here. If check here, king here. And then I tuck away. So that wins. Wowzers. King f1, man. Like, who plays moves like that? Apart from Stockfish. That's bonkers. Absolute bonkers. Here, queen, check here. And I'm gonna dodge this one too, for sure. I don't even have this check. Man. Let's check now with the engine. King f1, queen f4, king e2, white wins. Get out of town. That's ridiculous. That's amazing stuff. So actually it turns out that my botched endgame here is still winning. And actually c7 was the best move. And queen e3 check, king f1, and see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. White is winning. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you can learn quite a bit about endgames just by analyzing them. Play out different moves, play out different ideas, test yourself. Ask constantly questions and try to investigate what is in that position. I think I really modeled that well with the bishop ending because there was a lot that I explored as I actually went through it. So it was not prepared or already memorized lines. I actually explored a fair bit with you as I was recording it. So I hope you guys like this video. There will be more to come. One more time I need to say to you though that it is time for a massive cheers, bro. So the fella there, the famous legend with Senta written on his fairly sizable forehead in lieu of actual hair, is now purchasable in the Chess24 shop. Their artist has made this for me. So if you would like to get some merch, that's our first step towards the merch thingy-mabobby business, then I encourage you to get this dude here. I mean, why would you buy Anish or Kramnik? They are the other guys who you can get there. When you can buy actual famous chess personalities like Senta, Mr. Senta. So, please, do check it out. And if you fancy it, yeah, chuck in a few coins and that will help me to keep on bringing you content like this. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers. Bye.